Welcome to Creatively Exposed, a podcast and safe space for Black and marginalized creatives to empower, educate, and uplift you through the final product of self and creation. Bring a homie, share with a homie, and enjoy the show.
Welcome back to Creatively Exposed. And y'all, let me do the rest of this. Welcome back to Creatively Exposed, a podcast where we rehumanize the creative one episode at a time through all of the process of creation, right? Especially that rough draft, to be quite honest. Now that you know why you're here, let me tell you where I've been these last few weeks, y'all. First of all, AWP. I swear I've gone twice and I'd be forgetting what it means, but I'm just like writers and poets. Okay, that's what it's giving me. That's definitely not, I don't think, all of it. Anyway, so AWP happens once a year. It is a conference for publishers, writers, and something else. And of all genres. But for me, in my world, that's where the poets link up and we put humans to Twitter names and, that person that you probably been talking for like the whole pandemic that became your homie, you get to meet. And so that's definitely what I did. And what I love about AWP is that for me, it's the only place that I can be like, I'm gonna hop in a car with this person that I literally just met, even though I've talked to you for like 3 years and we're homies. And we gonna go to all these places and we finna hang out and share our like innermost feelings and dialogues and cry and laugh and listen to poetry and like go to church. Because let me tell you, these events, we went to a Japanese American event, which dope AF. Then we went to Patricia, why did I say it like that? Patricia Smith's event for her book release. And, doing Black things just always brings me joy. But to be in that room with those poems, with these ideas, basically the premise is she started collecting very old pictures of Black folks, like beyond black and white, because it, the only way that Black people were categorized back in the day was through either, your property, basically. And gave them lives is what she did with the work. And so that is the collection. It's, my description will never be enough to discuss, to give it what it needs to explain what I'm talking about. So check that out. Literally just came out. And that's AWP. Then came back, passed out, tried to recover, and then life is life, and figuring out what it is to be a creative full time, and the fears, what is it that they say in Getting Grown? The truths, the trials, the tribulations, and the taxes of madness that is living to me as a child of the diaspora. I've never thought about like, first generation immigrant, all this stuff. I don't know if, kind of, sort of. Anyway, it don't matter. but just moving out of just survival and into thriving. And I know I've been discussing this in like previous episodes, but it ain't a crystal stair. it ain't gardens and rainbows and unicorns. Like, first you gotta deprogram your self-worth around what your output is, and that in itself is huge, because so much of me was tied in with work. You know, I've, since I was 18, 19, I've been working back to back to back to back. It ain't no like, oh, 3 months, whatever. Like, I was laid off in 2020. By September, I had another job. And what's crazy is that I was able to begin my true destination for professionally being an artist while I was laid off, because there was no space for me to do so while working full time. And despite the, working in between during lunches, writing during lunches, getting Soliloquy of an Ice Queen out, it came out March 8, 2020. So it wasn't like I couldn't make it happen, but there's a shift that happens when your time belongs to you. The first part is some kind of recovery around being nonstop all of your life. Because 19 is more than 19 to 34. That's a long time. That's a long ass time to be working. And there is an autopilot switch that turns off, and you look around and you're like, what the fuck is going on around here? Is this life? What am I supposed to do with this if I am not producing something, working for something, proving my worth for something? So, it's then like the second part of that is like, okay, we're gonna do this thing. What does that really mean? What does that look like? What is the road to recovery from the trauma of being a cog in the machine? And not in a like, saying anything about anybody who got a job, because baby, it's not easy out here. But I think I'm very audacious, and I think I've put in my responsibility, time, and proof. I'm not recklessly endangering myself. So I'm gonna do the things, and it's not always smooth. Most times it feels very bumpy, because there's the scarcity mindset is so ingrained in me as a Black Caribbean woman, that what does the other side look like? To have more than enough, to really sit in and listen to the spirituality that I partake in, and really allow myself to be supported and led and guided, but also rest. Like, I think, everybody's like, oh, we're our ancestors' wildest dreams. And between my therapist and I, like, part of that dream was fucking rest. And I've also seen this in like TikTok or memes or whatever of like, I think it was a TikTok of like the ancestor comes, and I don't know whose it was, which is unfortunate, but they come and they're like, what are you doing? And the young lady is like, nothing. And the ancestor smiles, and I'm like, that's it. That's it. Oh, I done got so excited my little computer turned to the side. And so it's different variations of this is part of the work, right? It's part of creativity. It's part of embodying who you'd like to be. This is just my journey when it comes to this. And now it's putting in some of the work, but also living is the poetry that needs to be written as well. And so, it is a bit of a struggle because I have this 3-part idea for a collection, and nothing's coming up. Nothing. And you can't force the work. You can't force the idea or the creativity. And it's like, okay, I'm waiting on you whenever you're ready, but also we gotta get some of the shit popping. And so making space and time for musing and philosophizing and discussing and healing and all of these things is still part of the creative process that I feel like a lot of times is overlooked. There are folks who write every single day, and that is their process. But in my current case, that's not what's happening. And also, still working on, being a writer is what is my bread and butter, and believing, thinking, existing in that space. I'm getting there. I'm not fully there yet, right? We're not there yet, but we're gonna get there. And so sometimes it is focusing on the business. It is focusing on, slanging crystals and spiritual guidance and teaching classes, and it all is something. And I've been sitting in gratitude with the quality of people around me. The magic that I have experienced ever since AWP. Like, I got to have dinner with dope people, and I know I gotta get them on the podcast. Thinking about them right now, so that means I gotta do it. Shooting my shot for things that I don't know if it'll be a hit. I don't know if it'll be a miss, but I can't miss if I don't try. And so, there's just, I am occupied, but I am still moving into a season of softness. So like, I'm a little stuffy, and my voice is a little bit heavier than usual, and I was literally in all of my feels because of the people, the friendships, and where I am in my life right now. And that is a place of literal blooming into, one thing is the desire for gentleness and willing to go to war for it. And the other thing is to be ready to exist in this gentleness, in this ease. And my friend just said that, because I've been discussing intimacy and what that is for the self. And so I also open that up for you. And what does it mean to be intimate within ourselves, our lives, and with our work? Right? How do we not only pour into the work, but allow it to pour into us? And I don't have the answer for that. But I think it's a different way to experience creating art. Like, what space does it hold for us beyond the, poetry? It's where I put my feelings, but like, what sacred gift do we get when we create? Many times I think about my writing and this project that I have, and it's like, this is not just me that's going to create this. Like, I am conspiring with the universe now with this art work that I'm finna do. I have some poems that I didn't even realize I was working on them since 2020, and realize I have a theme here, and it grows and it keeps growing, and it's scary, yo. Like, I'm like, who else can write this, right? The way that you will. And there's the other side, right? Of like, but who are you to write this? And so sometimes you gotta tell that voice, fuck you. I was created for this thing. It doesn't mean it can't be in conversation with other artwork, but also allow yourself to be seen through your work. Because many times, and this is why I started the whole podcast, like, many times I feel like we gloss over the heartache that lives within these poems. That's not just in these poems, it's in the writer, the poet, the creator of the collection. Just in conversation of like a selection of poems, and I'm like, oh, I like this kind of look to the poem or whatever. And when I got the response back, it was the hardest poem I had to write. And that was the only way that I could do this. One word at a time. That what else can I say to that? You know what I'm saying? Like, may we continue working on rehumanizing folks. So that was from, no, I'm gonna leave them out, but that is from a poet, and I'm like, let me never forget the humans behind every single word. Sometimes writing is excruciating, not because you're searching for words, but because there's so much emotion that is processed that sometimes there's not enough, like, sometimes words can't capture the feeling. And the bravery that goes into every single page, every single sentence, every single word, and then having it out there for it to be picked apart, right? To be like, oh, I love this literary device. Like, how pretentious of me. But that's a whole other thing, And so I got a lot of thoughts. I got a lot of feels. I am experiencing the deepest love stories that I've ever encountered with all of my friendships. The ones that I barely speak to, the ones that I speak to daily, all of them are pouring into me, and wow, what getting in my feels, but what an experience. And so how do I figure out how to do this for myself as well and keep that pouring going, right? so we can keep pouring into one another, into the work, into the self, into community, which is what keeps us going. It doesn't always have to be this, you're in a lighthouse, and at the top of the lighthouse, you're writing this thing. Like, it can be solitary, but it doesn't have to be isolating. And so I think I'll leave you with that thought of all of these things. Like, creative entrepreneurship is scary as hell. And I'm still shooting my shot for things that still scare me. And are you living if you are not afraid of the things that you are trying to do? That is just me, my vibes. But like, on an astrology tip, let's discuss the astrology tip. It's officially the new astrological year, which is Aries season. It starts, begins with spring and all of these things. It's just, Aries is a cardinal sign, so Aries gets shit started. And there's hella planets in Aries right now. There's nothing in retrograde yet, but we're coming up on eclipse season, so it'll be really interesting. So I feel like a lot of things coming to light. We've seen some already. I ain't even gonna discuss that. And Pluto went into Aquarius, which my hope, right, for Pluto in Aquarius is that it will create a redefining of communal existing as a generation and figuring out what is best for humanity as a whole versus the individualistic nature that may have existed in Pluto and Capricorn. But there is another thing to that, right? Of course you're gonna drop some crazy thing upstairs. The other thing to that is fights for liberation, writing, and extremism. That's probably not a word, but cults will probably come to light. Religious extremists. So like, be mindful of groupthink, I would say, right? Or using I have the answers to have this like following. So social media is gonna get real interesting, because Pluto's a couple of things. It's like taboos and underworld, but also it's power play, and that can be positive and it can be dangerous. And recently Mars went into Cancer, so feel your feelings, move your body in order to get these feelings out of you. But also femme presenting people and also non-binary folks, as I think about Pluto and Aquarius, be careful with aggression towards us, right? I think about laws, etc., but like, there's a lot going on, and be mindful, disconnect when need be, pour. Like, let us all just keep pouring as much as possible, because some of these things are gonna get real crazy. And on the day of celebration, I also saw 2 accidents, one right in front of me, and it was really wild. So like, be mindful, y'all. Be safe out here. Do your best to listen to that knowing. Y'all is not fucking crazy. When you feel what you feel, go with the feeling. If something no longer feels right, do not continue with the thing. because it's like a little rubber band, and even rubber bands stretch, but eventually they break. And let us not be that. Let us not be that. And so that is what I have. Oh, I got some announcements. So this Thursday, I start a sci-fi and fantasy workshop. It is a multi-week. I am really excited to do this, to talk sci-fi and fantasy, to workshop some stuff, get some stories started or continued. And after that, I have a healing generational trauma workshop, which is 3 weeks, and that is bilingue. So the title is literally en español, and that is focused on my Spanish speaking folks, but there will be material in both languages. Just know that they're at the forefront in my priority. And what is next? I have something else. Oh, Taking Up Space Multilingually 2.0 is also part of like Sprung, and I'll probably do the sci-fi and fantasy workshop in summer. Again, the last two that I mentioned are free classes, so like don't sleep if you're interested in a safe space and writing workshop. I will kick out people out of my class if they wildin' and creating unsafe space. So we're not about that life. But if you're looking for generative workshops, check out the links that I'll put in the show notes and holla at your girl. Also, April is poetry month, so I'm gonna be out here being a poet. And so if you know anything about Old Miami, check out some of the things going on, and you might catch me there. So I will see y'all next time. I'm doing some things, so I am only accepting good vibes and returning to center anything that is not that. Oh, also, all of my creatively exposed homies, if you're about the life, put the protections up. I am not going into further detail about that, but put your protections up. It's getting really out here. So do not forget that you are magic. Pas oublier où c'est magique. No te olvides que eres magia. Have a wonderful end of March, y'all.
Thank you for listening to the show. Check out our Patreon, the website in the show notes. Rate, review, and subscribe or share with the homie. And don't forget that you are magic. No te olvides que eres magia. Pas oublier où c'est magique. Take care and see you next week.
Are you interested in unlimiting your healing journey? If so, please check out astrolizisix.com, also in the show notes. If you want to begin your crystal collection, need a tarot reading for spiritual guidance, or a natal chart reading, the dates open up in next week, July 8th. So if you are interested in any of those things, we got decks, incense, sage, all of the things. Check out astrolizisix.com and reconnect to your inner healing.